Well, so the county has voted to build a new civic building. Um, the city, back in August of 2017, the city council, um, I wasn't there, but they had voted to build a new city hall downtown. So the idea came up with, this was just a proposal saying, listen, we could probably save a fair amount of money by having the county build in what we call the East Park Commerce Center on the far east side of town, and then repurposing some of the land down here that's currently being used. The city could then move into the current annex, and rather than spend $10 million on building a new building, could probably do the remodel for about $1 million. Architects talk about the county saving about 15 to 20% on their costs, and that's significant because they're close to $100 million for the construction costs. So it was worth exploring. It seems that a vast majority of the people who show up at the meetings and speak they don't like the idea of the county building moving out of downtown. And last night was just another example of that. So we've explored it, which is what we're charged to do, right? Look at ideas. And it seems that the likelihood of the county getting land from the city on the outskirts of town is going to be up for consideration at Monday's council meeting. So I don't know how we're going to word it yet because there's no official proposal on the table. This was just really kind of an idea. I know the county has had over 10 meetings on it. I know just about every media source has proposed or done a story about the proposal. So I think we've got enough public input now where they can make a decision on whether or not we want to provide that land. Now that wouldn't prohibit the county from purchasing land out there or any place else for that matter for the new building, but I think this would probably force them to stay downtown. And then of course they would need a conditional use permit from the city regardless of where they build, and then move forward with their construction project. Ballparking for the county at the downtown location is about $100 million. The ballpark for a new city hall, the council voted to purchase some land near the riverfront, almost next to Edgewater Manor. And the initial layout for that was probably in the $9 to $10 million range for construction costs. Oh, I don't see us moving quickly at all on it. However, if we wanted to move quickly, and I don't think that would happen, we could probably have something ready to roll by spring, but I can't see that happening at all. I'm quite content staying in this building. This building has its shortfalls, needs work. The heating, ventilation, air conditioning. We've got air conditioners going in January because the heating system is so old and it's been remodeled so many times that the zones aren't the same anymore. Water, there's not enough shut-off valves. When we had to replace a water fountain here next to the mayor's office, they had to shut down half the building's water supply to replace it because that's where the shut-off valve was. But we looked into it and you could gut this building out completely and remodel it to whatever configuration you need to. Now, we didn't get a cost estimate on that, but general remodeling costs are, you're probably in the $200 to $400 per square foot range. It is open, but it's not completed yet. The pavers, there were some donor pavers that were sent out and they're getting engraved with names or whatever message it is. So that paved path is not set up yet. The bell from our Rostov-Veliki sister city is currently being housed in the city, but we have to figure out the structure to mount it. So I was just down at the streets department last week, and they're fabricating the steel, working with Ellis Construction, who's providing the beam, to get that mounted. I would expect that we would very likely be having that bell mounted by the end of the month. And then there's still a few other little things that need to be done, but it is open and available to the public. It's just not completed. So the city provided a little bit in the fact that we provided the land. We covered some irrigation costs because our irrigation system was going to be replaced anyway. So we just modified the irrigation plan, so there was some expense there, but very little extra than what we had planned already. And then of course the steel that they're using to fabricate the mounting and time in that effort. I do know that they also were required to put some money aside for future maintenance. so it's never gonna be a burden on the city.
Okay.
It's not like they're just gonna build it and now it's the city's problem, to maintain it. That is not the case. They have a fund set aside for future maintenance, so if things get broken or need to be repaired, there's an endowment for that. You know, it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I've heard people say it's hugely successful. Well, it's been open for 5 days. I wouldn't say that's enough information to say whether it'll work or not. But generally speaking, the end of the world didn't happen. But I think it's still too early to see if it's going to be as successful as people think it's going to be. I guess I didn't explore that enough. But apparently there's enough to hold him on charges.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that he was a felon. It is illegal for a felon to own a firearm, be in possession of a firearm, be in the vicinity of a firearm, as well as the body armor. But that's the investigation is ongoing. I don't know that any formal charges have been filed yet. It's unfortunate that that happens. It could have been a pretty terrible incident. This Thursday, Director Ostrowski, as you probably know, is resigning from the city, taking a job in Texas, moving his whole family down to San Marcos area, and we are having a community going away party for him this Thursday at PJ's about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Nothing special, just a social event to come and say goodbye to Michael and his family. If there was something that the community development department did that maybe touched your life, I think you'd like to hear from me.